Hi, Hillcrest Methodist Church. It's so good to be coming to you on the celebration of 20 years of having moved from the old building to the new building. And I want to thank Peter Butterworth for asking me to record a short video for you today. So we are so glad for that celebration for you, and we look back on our time in Hillcrest with huge fondness, and of all the blessings, certainly one of them is the beauty of that sanctuary in that space, which is hard to replicate, and we certainly haven't found a place as beautiful, as spacious, and just as amazing as that sanctuary there at Hillcrest. You are truly blessed to be worshipping in that space. I must say that one of my overarching memories of Hillcrest was even before I arrived. I remember going up there with Eric Dory and just looking at the build and seeing the development and having a sort of extraordinary interest in how well ministry was going under Eric, and just seeing that new sanctuary take shape and those exciting days of moving across. And it's the one time in my ministry where I've almost sensed something being predestined. It was only after that I decided to throw my hat in the ring, as it were, to apply for that work and to share the next sort of 15 years with the Hillcrest community. So it's definitely a sense of that having been sort of written in the stars, a sense of being predestined. Don't tell my Calvinist colleagues that, but but certainly felt that at the time. When we first arrived in Ireland, I work with three societies here. One is called Youghal, and one is called Kinsale, and the other is obviously Cork. One of the leaders at Youghal told me a story that I love dearly and use it as often as I can. He said when one minister who had served the community well was leaving the church, a member of the church came up to him and said, "The next minister's not going to be as good as you." And, feigning humility, the minister leaving was sort of slightly pleased by that sort of synopsis. And he said, "Well, thank you very much." He said, "I'm sure that's not true. I'm sure the next minister will be just as good." And the man replied, No, I've been here for 60 years. I've seen lots of ministers come and go, and the one that's followed has never been as good as the one that just left." So I just love that story, and I'll share that with you. I say that to you because it was my privilege following the great ministry of Eric Dory, and a great privilege to work with both Chris and Wendy during my time there, and of course to have worked with Peter Crundle as well towards the end, who, as we all know, is 5% trumpeter and 95% angel. And what a blessing he is to you and continues to be to you. And indeed, it was a privilege to be followed by Peter Butterworth, whose ministry we still follow on Facebook and see the amazing things that he's doing with your community. History is thick here in Ireland. I recently attended a service in St. Mary's Church, a Church of Ireland church in Youghal. It was celebrating its 800th anniversary, 800 years. John Wesley preached in that pulpit, and I thought to myself, when John Wesley preached in that pulpit, the church was already 500 years old. So the history is thick here, but history and your history in these 20 years, history speaks to God's faithfulness, to his that wonderful Hebrew word, to his chesed, his steadfast love. And as you in Hillcrest celebrate all that God has done, I pray that it is a fertile ground for dreaming of all the things that God has yet to do in your midst. But as for my message, the thought that came to mind was a beautiful line from the book of Philippians, and that line is, Paul writes into a church that is very special to him. He said, "I thank my God upon every remembrance of you. I thank my God upon every remembrance of you." And the Hillcrest Church, for Mary, myself, and Aaron, you were an amazing gift and a generous blessing. And indeed, when we look back, as we often do, we thank God upon every remembrance of you. We wish you best in your celebration. I thought I would show to you my daughter, who's now 6 years old. And I'll tell you one little story about Aaron. I was doing an assembly the other day, and I said to her, can I do an assembly in your school? And she said, yeah, you can do an assembly in my school, but I won't listen. I said, Erin, why won't you listen? She goes, Dad, because you're boring. So that's my 6-year-old daughter who's now going to come and say hello to you at Hillcrest. Erin, you want to come say hello? So hello, Hillcrest Methodist Church. And we wish you all the best in your celebrations. We're thinking of you. And again, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. I hope it hasn't been too long.